So, Scratchy, do you think that the people of Jamaica are prepared to take this approach with the government? Because the opposition party, but before you answer that, Scratchy, let me ask you that. Don't you think that the opposition is projecting too much or too many negativity, Scratchy? Don't you think that they can tone down the negativity now, man? The whole matter of Jamaica is failing, the government is not doing. Don't you think that they can tone it down a bit, especially outside of the election season?
Being an opposition neighbor for me don't mean that you're supposed to come and oppose everything. I think being an opposition for me, neighbor, should mean where you hold the government, neighbor, to a certain level of accountability. If the government comes with a program or a policy that you think is in the best interest of Jamaica, you hold the government to accountability in making sure that program or policy meet its true potential, you know? Not by directly attacking the program or the policy or shutting down the program and the policy in totality because it suits your interests, or, you know? So that's how I think opposition parties should operate, neighbor. Not just opposing, neighbor, but rather agreeing to what's in the best interest of the country. And whenever you agree
constructive
to that,
critic.
yes, you make sure that you hold the government accountable to whatever they say or whatever they are doing, and you know that. So, but we're not seeing that, neighbor, because of how Jamaica politics. That is why it is so hard for me, neighbor, to compare Jamaica politics, neighbor, to the rest of any other political system around the world, neighbor. Because Jamaica politics is unique to itself, neighbor. Jamaica politics is so different and unique, neighbor. It is the only style of political system, neighbor, where in Jamaica we see this type of tribal political system. And it is just so hard, neighbor, where it is just so hard for government, neighbor. It doesn't matter what the government want to do. It doesn't government how much town hall meeting the government want to do. It doesn't matter how much good the government want to go out there and meet and talk and greet, neighbor. Persons in South St. Andrew will never buy into it. Persons down in Westmoreland will never buy into it. Persons out in East Kingston and Port Royal will never buy into it. So no matter what the government want to say, no matter what the government want to do, neighbor, there's a large population or a large portion of our population, neighbor, where whether it is good or not, neighbor, they will not buy into it. They will not agree with it.
Not the government has said.
Them don't business with not where the government has said, neighbor. So government could have gone around and talk.
Them party, just put to them party.
It's just about them party, neighbor. Government could have gone around and talk this. Government could have gone around and talk that till God come, neighbor. These people will never buy into nothing that the government is saying, neighbor, because these persons, neighbor, when they go to the polls to vote, neighbor, they are not voting for any policies. They are not voting for any programs or nothing, neighbor. These persons are voting for the piece of land where them only have entitlement for no title for.
Then Scratchy, are we hopelessly going to be just meandering along 1% growth, 2% growth, adversarial politics? 2 steps forward, we just waited for the next election. Is this how we are going to go on for the next 30 years?
For the next 30 years, neighbor, yeah, we're going to see some changes, neighbor. It is definitely going to change to some level, but right now, it is what it is right now. We have seen changes compared to from then till now, neighbor. But what the problem with Jamaica, neighbor, is that the persons, neighbor, who have some form of impact on this country, neighbor, and the persons who are benefiting, neighbor, from the programs and policies of the government, neighbor, they are not coming out and making their voice vocals, neighbor. The persons who claim to not be in benefit are more louder than them. The persons who are not benefiting are speaking more up. But the ones who are benefiting, neighbor, they're keeping it silent to themselves, neighbor, and not coming out and speak about what the programs or policies that was introduced by this government over the last 10 years has done to improve their lives drastically. I can come out, neighbor, and come say, yes, the Jamaicans, they were right in the power. My life has impacted, my life has changed. Nobody not going to buy into that, neighbor. I don't going to influence, Scratchy's nobody. You get what I say? So nobody not going to buy into that, neighbor. And the thing with Jamaica, neighbor, why it is so hard for me, neighbor, to compare Jamaica with other jurisdiction, neighbor, is that our biggest thing that we have going for us, neighbor, is also our biggest threat. And that is our culture, neighbor. Our culture is our biggest thing that we have going for us, neighbor. But our culture is also our biggest setback, neighbor. Because Jamaica downfall, neighbor, or the situation that Jamaica is currently in, the anemic growth, 1% growth, 2% growth, neighbor, it is as a result also of our culture. So we have to understand, neighbor, we have to try to balance our culture in a certain way. Our culture is a way of life. And our way of life, neighbor, is what is impacting the advancement and the development of Jamaica, neighbor, because you have one set of person in the country, neighbor, who's all about working, who want to see the best for the country, who want to make their mark independently, and you have one set, neighbor, who seriously believe, neighbor, that they should just sit down, neighbor, and government resources is used, neighbor, to take care of whatever issues they are going through. And that is so sad, and that is something, neighbor, that has built up, some over the 70s, neighbor. It has become a part of our culture. For me, I think, neighbor, to a certain extent, neighbor, and a lot of things, neighbor, I think the government, neighbor, the Jamaica government or the Jamaica system, neighbor, it's like everybody else expect the whole system to be a social benefit. Everybody's looking for everything. When you look at even our markets, neighbor, I saw an interview with the mayor the other day, and the mayor was saying that the market is like a social incentive. They don't charge persons. Neighbor, it is very difficult for you to manage a country these days, neighbor. You cannot have something like a market and you go to that market and you ask people to pay $200 a week and $300. Those things, that's why the market they run down, neighbor. The market cannot be maintained on $200 a week and $300 a week.
And these people selling the market are making lots of money.
These people are making millions of dollars, neighbor. Millions of dollars. The people in the market are making, neighbor. Well, you ask them to pay $300 a week in a market fee, $400 a week. Can this really maintain the market and make the markets look like places where people can come and shop? And these people, they are not run down. They come on Black Road and they come and curse, neighbor. When you look at our roads, neighbor, we look at the condition of our roads, neighbor. It is our impact. The people Black Road and them one road and stuff like that, neighbor. So our culture, neighbor, which is our way of life, is also our biggest impact, and it is holding us back, neighbor. And that's one of the main reasons why
it is a politics that created that culture of patriotism, of patronage,
yeah,
clientistic type of politics.
Neighbor, the clientistic type of politics, neighbor, has damaged Jamaica so bad, neighbor. And the clientistic approach of politics, neighbor, has put us in a situation, neighbor, where it has let our citizens, neighbor, become reliant on government resources, neighbor. It has made our citizens become lazy to a certain extent, neighbor. And it has created, neighbor, because it has been going on for so long, neighbor, it is coming like some form of entitlement now, neighbor, where if these things are not presented, they start to resent the government. And say, but this use harm, so you're going to stop it now.
Yes, sir. And then when you have an opposition that buys into that system, Scratchy, that fosters that mindset, right? Then you realize that it's a very difficult ball game, Scratchy.
Neighbor, it is very, very difficult, neighbor, for the government, neighbor, to reach the masses. I think, neighbor, a much easier way is for us, as well-thinking Jamaicans, neighbor, us, neighbor, as persons who want to see the advancement and the development of Jamaica, neighbor, us who are benefiting, neighbor, from the programs and policies, us who know about the programs and policies, neighbor, we have to talk to our relatives, neighbor. We have to talk to our families, neighbor. We have to make sure that we guide our families, neighbor, towards these policies and programs, neighbor. It cannot be a government approach alone, neighbor, because government alone cannot do it. Government can do only so much, neighbor. It is up to we, neighbor, as citizens of Jamaica, neighbor, who are breadwinners in our families, who are the persons who are more advanced in our families, the persons who are taking care of our families, the persons who have impact in our families, neighbor. It is us, neighbor, to sit down and reason with our brothers, reason with our sisters, talk to our cousins, talk to our aunties, talk to our grandparents, neighbor, and show them what is going on, neighbor, and guide them and tell them, say, listen to me, this is the way forward. This is what the country is going to look like in the next 15, 20 years, neighbor, because some of them might be blind to it. Some of them might be listening to the narrative, because I'm telling you, the empty bars make way more noise. Because, neighbor, the man who claims he's not going to go on film is much more vocal than the man who thinks it's going on for. The man who thinks he's going for, neighbor, even himself, even act like not going to go on film, because nobody knows he's not going to go on film. So act like not going to go on either, because in true and in fact, don't want nobody know. So it is up to us, neighbor. The responsibility of the owners is on us, neighbor, to speak to the people who we have direct contact to, speak to the people who we have direct impact on them everyday life, neighbor. And most of us who live in the diaspora, and we take care of our families. So if you take care of your family, you're supposed to can guide them and show them the right way and tell them, listen, you know, and me, I take care of you, I'm not really hold you as no hostage. But what I really try to show you is that whatever I'm doing for you, it is as a result of the programs and policies that was introduced by the Jamaica Labour Party since the 10 years that this government is in power. And I want you to know, say, this is the way I like you will see and meds and see, we say, this is the way to go, neighbor, and follow suit. Because I'm me, I take care of you, or when you want something of me, you turn to neighbor. It might sound a way, but it's a reality, neighbor. No political organization in Jamaica, neighbor, don't have the will, don't have the skill, don't have the financial strength, and I don't agree with any political organization at all going around in Jamaica, neighbor, and trying to combat any form of misinformation or disinformation. That is not the responsibility of no political organization. Misinformation and disinformation is a threat to our national security. Misinformation, disinformation is a threat to our social well-being. Misinformation and disinformation is a threat to our democracy. That is something that should be taken head-on by whosoever is the government of the day, because no political organization in Jamaica have more resources than the government. It is affecting the government, and the government must take a serious stance against this, whether through legislation, neighbor, whether through legislation, or find other unique ways or means, neighbor, to carry out these things. And it is full time. I always say it, neighbor. I'm not gonna fully write up GIS and those stuff, neighbor. I believe that there's still a space to GIS, neighbor, because it's information that they're disseminating from the government standpoint, neighbor. I just have a problem, neighbor, with the format that GIS is in, neighbor. I just have a problem, neighbor, with the current presenters, neighbor. I think we have some very good content creators out there, neighbor, who all we have to do is create, give them the message, neighbor, package it in a certain way, and use these people as the presenters, neighbor, to present the government information. Use of social media and present this government information. I think that, neighbor, a lot of agencies and departments, neighbor, from a government standpoint, they don't realize how technologically advanced Jamaica has become, neighbor, and they're still stuck, neighbor, in the old ways of doing business. They're still stuck in the old style of doing business, neighbor. And that is why a lot of the government information is not being reached. Or not, neighbor, you can put out information. Let me tell you about information. You can put out all the information that you want to put out. It is up to me, neighbor, what I want to do with that information. Yeah? So yes. you could have want put out all the good with the Jamaica Labour Party I do. It is up to me if I want to believe in it, if I want to take it or not. I can still see you push it out and push it one side and don't look at it.
Yes.
So that is what is going on right now in our country, neighbor. Whether we want to believe it or not, neighbor, there are 400,000 Jamaicans where no matter what the government say, no matter what the government do, they are not going to buy it. And we must come to face a reality, neighbor. We must be real with ourselves and know that there's a trust deficit in Jamaica between the citizens and politicians. We must face that reality. There is a trust deficit between Jamaicans, neighbor, and politicians. Jamaicans tend to believe that politicians are liars. Jamaicans tend to believe that politicians are thieves. Jamaicans tend to believe that politicians come on TV and talk things and it don't want to go so. So listen now, no?
Yes.
Darryl Vaz, neighbor. Darryl Vaz is the Minister of Transportation. Darryl Vaz come and say the bus program, the rural school bus program is doing well. The rural school bus program is doing this. The rural school bus program is doing that. Jamaicans are going to look on it and say, Darryl Vaz don't have no picnic where I go where I take on these bus. I don't want to hear nothing from Darryl Vaz. Where are the parents who are benefiting from the rural bus system? Why these parents are not coming out and talking more loudly, more proudly? Where are these parents? Why are parents can come out and say, okay, it was costing me $1,800 a week to send my child to school. It is now costing me $600. Where are these persons? Nobody know why hear from Darryl Vaz come tell about the school bus program are the good. Darryl Vaz don't have no chick or a child we are taking on these buses. They want to hear directly from the persons who are benefiting from these programs, neighbor. And it is so sad, neighbor, where these persons are not coming forward. They are silent. They're not
isn't
coming
that
forward.
part of the government's public relations apparatus? Aren't they responsible to do that?
Neighbor, it can, yes, it is, yes, neighbor, but to an extent, I don't even want to go, neighbor, because the trust deficit is so high in Jamaica between government and the people, neighbor. I don't even want government to look for nobody if you come do that, neighbor. Person should do that, person should take up that on themselves, neighbor, because you are benefiting. You are
Our media.
you are seeing,
Independent media.
neighbor, you personally see the backlash of the bus system again. And I know that there are thousands of parents across the length and breadth of Jamaica who are benefit from the bus program. Come out and talk about it. Come out and speak about it. The minister alone should have to come out and talk about this is happening and that's happening. Nobody don't want to hear that, neighbor. People want to hear directly from the beneficiaries. But the beneficiaries come out and speak about it. So there's a lot with the Jamaica, neighbor, and I'm going to say it again, neighbor, that Jamaica system, neighbor, is different. Jamaica is unique. Jamaica is unique and different from every other country around the world, neighbor. Jamaica is special in its own way. Jamaica is special in its own terms and conditions, neighbor. Anywhere in the world you go, neighbor, I don't know how much different countries you have ever visited, neighbor, but there's no blue in the world that can compare, neighbor. The things that we create problems about, there are a lot of persons in other countries, neighbor, don't see those things as problems. The things that government do for us, neighbor, a lot of even first world countries don't get these type of benefits from their government as well. So, neighbor, there's a lot, neighbor. I think there's a high dependency, neighbor, on Jamaica and the political system, and I blame politicians for it, neighbor. I blame politicians for it, neighbor, because in order for these politicians, neighbor, to garner vote and to win them seat, neighbor, they come with all type of promises that they cannot fulfill, neighbor. They do some things, neighbor, that politicians not even supposed to be doing these type of things, neighbor. They go into these constituencies, they prey on the people in financial situation, they prey on the people in emotion, provide certain services to these people, neighbor, where there's a politician you shouldn't be providing none of these type of services. You're supposed to tell persons, okay, go there, so go get that. Look at even the disbursement of the roof grants, neighbor. I see politician come on TV or complain. It's a person have to leave to go to St. James to go collect the money. Oh, is that an issue? Oh, is that an issue? You should have looked at your constituency member and say, listen me, the government provided the grant. The greatest in the grant is there. The reason why you have to go to St. James is because the institutions that the government is using to disperse the funds, your country, your parish, mainly because of the devastation of the hurricane, your parish don't have the capacity nor the ability to carry out this type of program or this. There's no place or nowhere in your parish to carry out this operation. So the place that they have to use is somewhere in St. James. That is the reason why neighbor is not what we say, but how we say it.
And the politician is complaining that the people have to go.
The politician is complaining when the politician should not complain, neighbor. It is the politician's duty to say to the person, listen me, the government provided the grant. It is because of the devastation of the hurricane. If you look at where you have to go collect the money, look in your parish, there's no place like this in your parish. Where you want? You want the government come set up one tent, they come and they come collect your money, and they start boss the government I want to stand up in a sun and sun hat, and this informal, and this, that. You have to talk to your people, them as politicians. Stop trying to score cheap political points for some things that make sense because you're only bringing down yourself as a politician, and you bring down the individuals, neighbor. The people in the constituencies, neighbor, they are like crying babies, neighbor. And when they go to these crying babies, when they go to the politician who's supposed to parent, if these politicians don't stand firm on them foot and be realistic and be real with the people, neighbor, and talk to the people in a real sense, neighbor, the people is going to continue to feel like, say, yes, the Jamaica Labour Party or the government of the day is taking them for fool. And that is the problem we have with Jamaica right now, neighbor. Our culture, we have a way of life that is holding us back. It is setting us back. It is preventing us from reaching our true goals and potential. Neighbor, I am going to tell you, we won the last general election, We won the general election, neighbor. And when you look at it, yes, we improve from where we're coming from. But, neighbor, I am still disappointed to a certain level. I am still within myself, neighbor. We won the election. I am happy that we won the election, but it's like there's still a part of my heart, neighbor, that is telling me that, yo, we deserve more. We deserve way more than what we got, neighbor, because the performance that we saw from the government, neighbor, we have never seen anything like that, neighbor. And it was clear as day that September 3rd gone, neighbor, Jamaicans didn't vote on performance, neighbor. Jamaica went out and voted, neighbor, for whatever was given to them on the day, or whatever was used, neighbor, to derail the system, neighbor. I am glad, neighbor, that I farm for a third term for the first time, neighbor, yes. But there's a pain point still in my heart, neighbor, where I felt that we deserve more, neighbor, because I have never seen a government done more than what Jamaica Lowell's government done, neighbor. And the reward that I saw the government get, neighbor, I wasn't pleased to a certain level, but I am happy for the third term, yes. But that just showed me, neighbor, that a lot of persons in my country, a lot of citizens in my country, neighbor, they are not advancing their thinking, neighbor. They are not fully, they don't reach the level where we want Jamaica to reach as yet. Will they get there? I suspect, I believe so, neighbor. neighbor. How long? I can't put a time frame on it. But I am not pleased to a certain level. I don't want the government to be going into to both killing themselves, neighbor, and going into any universities or killing themselves. Yes, universities are important. What I want the government to start to do, neighbor, is target the 15-year-olds, neighbor. Target the 16-year-olds. These are the persons who we're going to ask to vote for the next election, neighbor. This is where the victory of the next election lies, neighbor, in this cohort group. The current 15-year-olds, the current 16-year-olds, the current 17-year-olds who are in high school right now, neighbor. These are the persons where we have to get. We can't wait till them reach 19, 20. We'll try to get them, because we're going to lose them by them time, you know. If we wait till about 20 and 21, we'll lose them, you know. We're going to lose them, neighbor. They're in school right now, and we have to get them right now that they're in school. Not going to tell them to come and vote for Jamaica Labour Party, but you're introduced a way where you're telling them that, listen up, vote on things, vote on policies, vote for programs. Don't vote for handout. Your grandmother vote for handout and look on your grandmother now. 75-year-old and still have to go to a parliament, go depend on politicians to get money for buy medication. Look at your mother who voted for likes. Neighbor, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, that is where the future of Jamaica lies. Anyhow, we don't target this cohort group, neighbor. Anyhow, we don't target this cohort group, neighbor. I'm telling you, we're going to have a problem, because first-time voters, neighbor, is very, very important. And we want to improve our voting numbers, the voter turnout, neighbor. We have to attack this cohort group, neighbor. Whatever is going on in our current school system, neighbor, we have to let these people know that whatever is going on, it is as a result, neighbor, of the government policies and the government program. And right now, neighbor, the Jamaica Labour Party, led by Andrew Michael Holness, and the current government of the day and the cabinet of the day, led by Andrew Michael Holness, neighbor, have something at their disposal, neighbor. And I can tell you, neighbor, that with this current situation that is going on in the western side of the country, because down there is where elections are won, you know. Neighbor, if the government get it right this time, neighbor, if the government put in the right policies, if the government put in the right program, if the government bring back down that side of the island to a certain level, neighbor, and certain improvement, I can tell you that the Jamaica Labour Party will be in government for a very, very long time. The future of the Jamaica Labour Party, neighbor, is hung on the recovery, the reconstruction, the redevelopment of Melissa destruction. And the Jamaica Labour Party must get it right. The Jamaica Labour Party should get it right, so that whosoever who's true to lead the Jamaica Labour Party after Andrew Michael Holness, neighbor, it won't be so difficult for them. They don't have to go into any constituency 2 o'clock a morning in a campaign. They don't have to go into any bushes 3 o'clock a morning in a campaign. It will be much more easier for them. So, neighbor, the Jamaica Labour Party have something right now where they just need to get it right, play their cards right, and it is done. And I want to touch on if you look at the next level now to move on from that, there are certain institutions in Jamaica, neighbor, but all the government hostage. There are certain institutions in Jamaica that is not compatible with the government, neighbor. They are not singing from the same tune with the government. Look at the Jamaica Constabulary Force. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, neighbor, was an organization, neighbor, that was marred, neighbor, with political activism. And look how drastic, look at the changes that we have seen in the police force. There is not much political activism in the police force again, you know. Why has that political activism has removed from the police force, neighbor? We have seen drastic improvement in the Jamaica Constabulary Force. They talk about the force is more formal right now and everything. That is because the political side of it was removed from it. Now look at these things in Jamaica now, neighbor, where we still have strong political hold, our political victimization and people with strong political activism. Our education system, that is why we see where the other education system cannot advance to the true level we want it to go. Because you have people like Mark Malava, you have people like the Jamaica Teachers Association, neighbor. These guys, neighbors, are political activists. These guys are political proxies. They hold our schooling system at ransom. They hold our school children at ransom. They hold the education ministry at ransom. They hold our government at ransom. And most importantly, they hold the country at ransom, neighbor, to serve them own personal interests and the political organization that they support. Look at one of the key functions, neighbor, why a lot of returning residents don't return to Jamaica. It was security, crime and violence. We fix that. But a lot of people don't know the next key word, you know. And I can tell you, neighbor, the key thing why a lot of Jamaicans don't return to Jamaica yet, neighbor, is our health system, neighbor. People want to know that whenever they fall sick, neighbor, they can get the best treatment that is available, neighbor. They can get people are gonna leave first world nations like these, neighbor, to come and run back to Jamaica, neighbor. And if you get sick, you have to go fly out back again to come back here. It makes no sense. So why we cannot fix the health system? The health system cannot be fixed because the health system is also held as ransom by the political victimization, the Jamaican Medical Doctors Association, the Jamaican Nurses Association. These are proxy group for the People's National Party. These guys go to Cuba and other places nearby, go study return doctor, and then tell themselves it's PNP send them to school, and they come back and hold the city and hold the government as hostage nearby. That's why we cannot advance our healthcare system up to now. Look at what is going on down there in Cornwall Regional. So many good going on. Why I know I can't see two doctors come out and say, no, stop the politics in the healthcare system. Since it's government in power, we have seen more improvement, we have more equipment, we have more this, we have more that. I can't see no doctor come out and say that. Why? Is it, are you going to be a Labourite if you come out and talk good? If you talk about the good that is going on, you're a Labourite? Yeah, but if you live in a country and you cannot speak the good that is going on because you'll be branded as a Labourite, that is total madness. The Jamaican Medical Doctors Association, neighbor, they are the one holding the growth and development and the healthcare system, neighbor. They hold us ransom because all of them, neighbor, have political aspirations. Notice all of them, they have political aspirations. Whether it is someone, neighbor, who's in the political scape right now, he's very close friends with a lot of them, neighbor. So they're not going to try to shame and embarrass him. They're going to try to share with his sentiments and try to make it look like, say, yes, the healthcare system is in the worst condition it has ever been. The healthcare system is in shambles. The healthcare system run by the minister right now is being madness in doing. Neighbor, political victimization is holding us back. With crime and violence is down, and a lot of investors, neighbors, are happy for that. A lot of persons living in the diaspora is very happy for that. A lot of persons who want to return to Jamaica is very happy for that. But the next key sector, neighbor, is the healthcare system, neighbor. People not gonna return to Jamaica, neighbor, and if them sick, them have to book a flight to fly out back again to get healthcare. They want to know that there's the sufficient healthcare in Jamaica, neighbor, is to a level where they can be treated, where they can get the necessary help that they need, and it is of the best quality. But why it is not of the best quality? Because the current situation, neighbor, the current persons who are the persons who hold position in the hospital, the doctors and nurses, neighbor, they have political aspirations, neighbor, they are political activists, and they are proxy group for the People's National Party. And these guys don't, I tell you before, the PNP don't strive on anything that is good. The PNP strive on things that are bad. So as long as the healthcare system is bad, PNP benefit from those things, neighbor. The doctors benefit from those things. Look at the doctors, a massive increase in salary, neighbor. Massive increase in salaries from the Jamaica Labour Party. Why is it that these guys still cannot come out and say, listen, guys, I'm just still Jamaica, be patient. We have seen the best, this is the best situation that the healthcare system has been in. And you talk about bed shortage. Neighbor, let me tell you this. 2.8 million persons living in Jamaica. There's no way 2.8 million beds can be available in our hospital. You will always have bed shortage. Bed shortage is something that's going to happen all the while. Anywhere in the world you go, you're going to always have bed shortage. You cannot match the bed to the amount of citizens that you have. You don't dictate how often people is going to be sick. You can't dictate the length of people is going to be sick. So it is very difficult for you to say, okay, we need 500,000 bed. Build a place with 500,000 bed and we only have 300 people on the ward, neighbor. We're going to lose in a air conditioning bill. We're going to lose in a lighting bill. We're going to lose in a gas bill. You're going to lose in a maintenance. So there's a whole lot of factors to this thing, neighbor. How do you know how much bed you really need in a hospital? It is very difficult, neighbor. It is very difficult, and persons need to understand these things. And PNP, neighbor, activists, them who hold high position in our healthcare system, neighbor, they need to stop, because for their own personal interest, they must set back Jamaica, and they're preventing Jamaicans, neighbor, who have the funds and who have the ideas to come back to Jamaica, neighbor, to advance and develop the country. Trust me, neighbor, crime is down, but healthcare, neighbor, is the next big sore foot why a lot of Jamaicans not returning back to Jamaica, neighbor, right now. Because persons want to know, neighbor, that if they come to Jamaica and they should fall ill or get ill, they have the best medical care that they can get. They don't have to fly out back, neighbor. It make no sense. It make no sense. I move from Canada and come live back in Jamaica, and if I get sick, I have to fly back to Canada every minute. It makes no sense. So the fix the healthcare system. It is being fixed, but it is not being highlighted. A lot of good is being done, but it is not being highlighted, because the persons who are the practitioners, the persons who work in these places, the persons who get a salary every month from these things, massive increase in their salaries as well, they're not coming out and speak. They are silent. They're not speaking publicly, and they don't speak when it comes to the polls neither, because a lot of them still vote and go strong for the People's National Party, because they might have a medical doctor friend who's a part of the PNP, and they are in support of him, because they believe that if he should become the Minister of Health, he's someone who they know personally, and if he should become the Minister of Health, they tend to believe that there's more personal perks that they might can get more get bigger position, they might can get more time off, they might can get this, they might can get that. And that is what is going on in Jamaica, neighbor. Persons are voting, or persons are looking out for their own personal interests and not the best interests of Jamaican and Jamaicans, neighbor. And that is our problem in Jamaica. Too much political activism, too much political victimization. We cite in the Jamaica Constable Force, use the Jamaica Constable Force as a model. We fix the Jamaica Constable Force, get rid of the political activists, get rid of the politics out of the Jamaica Constable Force, and we have seen improvement. Use that same model and that same style for education and health, and you see how drastic change is happening in Jamaica. Trust me.
Boy, I tell you something, man. This is fantastic. Wow. That's great, Scratchy. That's great. You're one of a kind. You are one of a kind. Fantastic. I think we have to continue this discussion. Well said, Scratchy.